Henry, what's it like to be getting the call from Dan McDonald? Hey, we want you to be one of the guys at the leadoff dinner this year.
Yeah, it's a good honor. I'm very thankful that I get to give back. I mean, the first time I ever came to Louisville was actually in the leadoff dinner, and that was when I did my visit. So, yeah, very, very honored to be here.
You think back to when you were a player and seeing those guys up on stage and now having that, I guess, kind of a full circle moment. Thinking back to your playing days, what was that like seeing big leaguers up on the stage and saying, man, I hope that's me one day?
It was great. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to give back now, and definitely that perspective helps a lot of knowing that I was once in that crowd and having the opportunity to speak to some of the younger players and just the people of Louisville as well. Really thankful for it.
Kind of looking back at your playing career here at Louisville, how did Dan McDonald and the coaching staff specifically help set you up not only for future success in the big leagues, but prop you up to be the #1 overall pick?
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely them, really, the program, and I think the track record of development stands out. I'm glad to now be a member of that, but at the time, even thinking of the players that they had developed, really just buying into the program and having trust in them was what allowed me to develop the way I did.
Everyone always talks about your work ethic. Is that something that you had coming to school here, or did you develop that while you were here?
I definitely think that a testament to my parents was I had some of it, but the stakes just get higher the more crowded the room becomes when you're at a place where everybody has an elite work ethic. How do you stand out? How do you differentiate? The things like that. Whether it was the Michael Jordan Award or trying to be the first one there or the last one to leave the cages, it's a lot different when everybody else wants it like you do, and that's part of the culture that we have and part of the culture that was left behind from the leaders before me and hopefully carried on from the leaders after me. But it's definitely a separating factor, thinking towards how do I separate myself as a worker in a room full of extremely talented, extremely hardworking people.
What's that pressure like going in as the #1 pick? Everyone got their eye on you, everybody's watching everything you're doing. What's that pressure like?
I think it's actually something that is a blessing. You have somewhat of a pedestal that you can use it for good and how you lead and how you work and how you treat people, which is a lot of what Coach Mack and this program taught me, but not only use it as an example for on the field, but off the field as well.
Being on this side of giving advice, now you're giving advice. I'm sure you can remember when you got here and the older players coming back and giving advice. How different is that? How wild is that to think that now people are looking up to you and looking to you for advice?
I think it's actually a perspective that we've always had. I think that was something where in our Omaha room, you transfer closer to the front of the room each year, and that's something that you recognize that as you pass time here, as you go through the Omaha Challenge, as you go through the fall lifts, as you go through all these things that strengthen your character, you're doing that so you can give back in the future. So this is just a microcosm for all the events that we went through during our time at Louisville.
Which call were you more excited to get? The one where you find out you're the #1 overall pick, or the one where you find out you're getting called up to Pittsburgh?
Big leagues for sure. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter where you're picked once you get into the system, and just obviously that's been a dream for a long time, and draft is more a stepping stone, and obviously the big leagues is an entrance into a further part of your career. So I was very excited about that one.
Dan's often talked about how he wants to get some of the former players to contribute to where they're from, and you're one of those guys that certainly has kind of paid back a little bit. How important do you think it is for guys that have come through the system to remember Louisville and to give back to help continue to build up the program?
I think that's the greatest testimony we can give to what the program has done for us, really, is give back. And not only is that, as a player when you're leading from the front of the room like we talked about in the Omaha room, but my first thought, I actually called Coach Mack just a couple hours after the draft, and it was something that I was really set on, specifically the locker room, because we spent so much time as a team in there that I really wanted it to be an environment that stimulated the growth of the team and would lead to people spending more time in there. So I'm very thankful that I'm in the position that I can do that.
You sat in the barber chair and got a haircut?
I have not yet.
You mentioned that when you took your visit, it was this weekend. How much of a selling point was that for you in terms of your recruiting?
I'm not sure. I really cared most about just to being a winning program. Honestly, I think that there's certain things that attract different players, and I mean, obviously we have a wonderful stadium and the facilities, et cetera, but none of that really crossed my mind. I think that's more perspective from where I was coming from in New York, considering that it's not necessarily a place that, obviously you play around the country and you see what the high school fields look like in Texas, and most of the fields I was playing on don't even have a fence. So, I was really focused on just the culture that was built there, and very thankful for it.
Everybody good?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.